You are welcome. Today's lecture is on Protochordates. Now, what are Protochordates? The term Protochordata or Protochordates is used to include two subphyla, and the two subphyla are basically the subphylum Urochordata and the subphylum Cephalochordata. The subphylum Urochordata consists of the sea squirts and other loosely related groups, while the subphylum Cephalochordata is represented by the amphiaxus or lancelets. Now, the Urochordates and the Cephalochordates that are classified into the major group Protochordata are both marine organisms, and both of them are non-vertebrate chordates. They are non-vertebrates. That's to say that they lack a backbone. They do not have a vertebral column. Now, these non-vertebrate chordates do not form vertebral column. And in the case of the Urochordates, their adult form is greatly different from what we expect chordates to look like. Just as it is here at the bottom, you see this sac-like structure. It doesn't look like chordates, the general chordates we used to know. Now, there's a particular phylum that's usually that was classified into the phylum Chordata, which is no longer part of chordates, and they are Hemichordates. And the word Hemichordates means half chordates. They are a group of worm-like marine invertebrates, and they are commonly called the acorn worms. They are closely related to chordates, and they constitute a phylum known as the Hemichordata. They're actually not chordates. The reason is that they lack a true notochord. The Hemichordates lack a true notochord. And DNA analysis also showed that the Hemichordates are more closer to the echinoderms than the chordates. They are more closer to the sea stars, the sea urchins, the sea cucumbers, and others than the chordates. And as such, they are no longer classified as chordates. However, the Hemichordates also possess pharyngeal gill slits, and they have a dorsal nerve cord and a heart. Now, they want to look at the first subphylum among the Protochordates, and that's the subphylum Urochordata. The subphylum Urochordata is also referred to as the phylum Tunicata. So it can be called the phylum Tunicata or the phylum Urochordata. The subphylum Urochordata or Tunicata, or they are also called Urochordates or Tunicates, that subphylum consists of a group of primitive marine filter-feeding animals that have a sac-like unsegmented body and a urochord that is conspicuous in the larval stage. Now, these organisms are marine organisms. That's to say that they are found in the ocean. They are filter-feeding organisms. They filter minute food particles, including some microorganisms from the water. And they are also sac-like in nature. They look like sacs, just as you can see at the base of this slide. This is a tunicate, and they possess a urochord. That's to say that their notochord is at the base of the, it's around the tail. The urochord is a notochord that is located, that is limited to the caudal region. And that's the source of the name Urochordata. Their notochord is limited to the tail region, the caudal region of the organisms. Urochordates typically have a thin, transparent, non-living tunic. They have a thin, transparent, non-living outer tunic. For this reason, they are often also known as the tunicates. Now, this is the outer tunic, this outer covering at the bottom here, you can see it. Yeah, this is the reason why they are called tunicates, because they have an outer tunic that also serves as the exoskeleton of this group. Since they possess a notochord in their tail, tunicates are considered to be chordates. Typical examples are the sea squirts or the tunicates. Adult members are commonly embedded in tough secreted tunic containing cellulose. Now, this is one unique feature of this group. The adult members are embedded, or they live within a tough secreted tunic. So they possess an exoskeleton instead of an endoskeleton that's common to most chordates. They have an exoskeleton. And this tunic contains cellulose. Now, the cellulose is a glucose polysaccharide that's not normally found in animals. It's usually found in plants, the cell wall of plants. But being unique, as you can see, these organisms have a tunic that's made up of cellulose. Now, here is a figure that's showing the anatomy of a tunicate. Now, this tunicate is called Halocynthia erythrum. Now, if you look at the structure, the external anatomy of the tunicate, you'll notice that it has a sac-like shape and it has an outer tunic. Now, this outer tunic protects the interior of the organism. It encloses the organism to and protects it. And they are usually sessile organisms. They're usually attached to substratum, sometimes to sediments at the bottom of the water body. And as such, they are benthic organisms. Now, if you look at the structure of the tunicate, it has two siphons, this and this. It has the in current siphon that takes water and other particles into the organism, and then the X current siphon, this one, that is used to expel wastes and water out of the organism. The tunicate, within the tunicate, you also have the gill slits that are likely for feeding. Then you have the tunic, the outer covering. The less modified forms are benthic. Yeah, most tunicates are benthic organisms. They are bottom dwelling and sessile. They live at the bottom of the water body. While the more advanced forms are pelagic. The pelagic tunicates are seen floating and swimming in the open water. Tunicates are distributed in ocean waters from the polar regions to the tropics. They are found in the oceans. Free-swimming tunicates are found throughout the oceans as planktons, while sessile forms grow mainly on solid surface, such as wharf piles, ship hulls, rocks, and the shells of various sea creatures. They get themselves also attached to the shells of various sea creatures. I want to now look at the anatomy and physiology of tunicates. First, I want to look at the external anatomy of tunicates. A solitary tunicate has two major openings, as we have said already. The two major openings that are called the siphons on the surface away from the area of attachment. A branchial aperture through which water enters the body. The branchial aperture is also called the incurrent siphon. The branchial aperture is also called the incurrent siphon through which water enters the tunicate. And an arterial aperture. The arterial aperture is also called the excurrent siphon. The arterial aperture is also called the excurrent siphon through which water wastes and gametes leave the tunicate. Now, this is the branchial aperture or the incurrent siphon, and you also have the excurrent siphon, which is the atrial aperture. Water enters the body of the tunicate through the branchial aperture or the incurrent siphon, and water leaves, water wastes and gametes leave the tunicate through the atrial aperture or the excurrent siphon. Now, the internal anatomy and physiology of tunicates. Internal anatomy and physiology of tunicates. First, we want to look at reproduction and life cycle of tunicates. With rare exceptions, tunicates are hermaphrodites, but reproduction may be by sexual or asexual means. Now, they are hermaphrodites, meaning that they have both matured tunicates have both male and female reproductive organs in them, but reproduction usually occur by sexual means. Self-fertilization doesn't actually occur in tunicates. The gametes are released into the water, and then the eggs and the sperms fertilize externally. Asexual reproduction occurs through budding, where a tunicate develops as an outgrowth from the parent tunicate and cuts up and to become and gets itself attached to a substratum and becomes grows to become an adult tunicate. Now, after fertilization in sexual reproduction, a characteristic tadpole larva develops in the life cycle. And in one group, the adult closely resembles the larva, which has many features in common with other chordates. So a tadpole larva develops. So as when the tunicate, after fertilization, the larva that's formed is usually like tadpole, like the tadpole of the frogs and toads we know about, but they have very few distinctive features. Now, the larval stage is usually very brief and it does not feed. The larva concentrates on feeding, on finding appropriate place for the adult to live. So the larval stage does not feed. They don't eat at all. They actually go around to look for appropriate places to get attached for the adults to live. Free swimming tunicates metamorphose without attachment. Those that are free swimming, they don't get attached, the pelagic forms. Now here is a figure that's showing the life cycle of a tunicate. Here, we've said already that the adult tunicate is sessile, attached to a substratum. Then the sperms are released, the sperm and the ovary are released from the tunicate, and fertilization occurs externally. Now, after fertilization, the fertilized cell begins to divide, multiply, and eventually the embryo is formed. Embryo, that's a larva. The larva is formed, which continues to grow and it metamorphoses into a form that can now attach to a substratum. Like we said, the larva doesn't feed. It only goes around. It feeds on the stored calories to enable it to find a place. And then when it finds a place, it gets itself attached, and then it gradually metamorphoses into an adult form. That's quite different from the larva. Now, locomotion. How does the tunicate move? We've said already that tunicates are usually found attached to substratum. Do they even move? Yes, some of them can move, particularly the tadpole larva. The tadpole larva and appendicularians swim by undulating the tail. Yeah, the tadpole larva of the tunicates, usually they undulate their tails as they move. The tail propels them to move. Also, despite their sessile lifestyles, Some adult ascidians or some adult tunicates or cephalochordates, Eudochordates can move by attaching with one area of the body and letting go with another. Intelligence, which is another order in the subphylum Eurochordata, an excellent current of water, which in deloids and cells is combined with a strong muscular contraction, creates a a jet stream that propels the animal forward. Now, the Thalissians also use the stream, the water that's created by the excellent siphon to create a water current to propel them to move. Now, skeleton, tissues, and muscles of the tunicates. The tunic functions to some extent as an external skeleton that supports and protects the body. The tunic, that's the outer covering of cellulose that we have just described earlier, it serves as an external skeleton. So it serves as an exoskeleton. Additional support is also provided by body fluids and connective tissues. Then firm proteinaceous rods also may support the branchial aperture of the Euchordates. Nervous system and sense organs of Euchordates. In the tadpole level and appendicularians, the dorsal nerve cord is well developed. The dorsal nerve cord itself is sensory function. Okay. At the anterior end, there are usually sensory structures which detect light and orient the animal to gravity. Similar sensory structures can be found in adult Thalissians. Special organs of sense are otherwise poorly developed. The digestive system of the Euchordates, In ascidians and Thalissians, the beating action of cilia creates water current. As the water is driven from the branchial sac into the atrial cavity, a sheet of mucus secreted by the endostyle traps a variety of very small organisms suspended in water current, especially small plants. They usually feed on phytoplanktons. The mucus is rolled into a cord and then conveyed to the intestine where it is digested and absorbed. A stomach and glands may be present in some species. The intestine ends as an anus in the atrium below the atrial aperture. Wastes are ejected through this aperture in a stream of water. Excretion. Metabolic wastes, such as breakdown products of protein, are excreted at various parts of the body, including the surface of the gills and the intestine, and sometimes by the discrete kidneys. So the surface of the skin as the body surface, the gills, the surface of the gills, then the intestine, and sometimes by discrete kidneys. That's where excretion takes place. In many cases, waste are stored as solid deposits rather than by excretion from the body as they are produced. Respiration. Gas exchange occurs in the gill and also across various other body surfaces, such as the lining of the atrium. So the Euchordates usually respire through the gills, but they can also respire through other surfaces, such as the lining of the atrium. We want to now look at classification of Euchordates. Classification of Euchordates. Euchordates are classified into three classes. Organisms in the subphylum Euchordata are classified into three classes. And the three classes of Euchordates are one, the class Ascidiacea. The Ascidians are also called the class Ascidiacea. It's also called ascidians. The second class is the class Larvacea or Appendicularia. They are also collectively called the Larvaceans or Appendicularians. The third class is the class Thalacea. Two of the three classes retain the larval form throughout life. Only the ascidians mature into an adult form. They lose the tail and its notochord. The ascidians, the ascidians do not, the ascidians metamorphose into an adult form, but the Thalacians and the Appendicularians do not metamorphose into an adult form. They retain their adult form. We want to look at the class Ascidiacea. They are also called the ascidians, and they are mainly represented by the sea squirts. They are basically represented by the sea squirts. Now, what are ascidians? Ascidians are tiny sac-like, short-living marine invertebrate filter feeders found either in colonies or existing solitary or sessile. Now, they are very tiny organisms, usually from 0.5 millimeter to 11 millimeters in size. And they are short-living. They live for hours or days. Okay, so the distinctive features we want to basically pick out from this explanation is that they are usually very tiny organisms. They are sac-like. They are short-living, and they are filter feeders. The sea squirts are fixed growing organisms resembling potatoes more than animals. They are found in all seas from intertidal zone to the deepest depths. So they are actually found fixed on surfaces, and they resemble potatoes more than animals. They are usually found in the intertidal benthic zone. Now this is a tunicate or an ascidian. Okay, it is called Halocynthia aurantium. Halocynthia aurantium. It's, if you look at this organism, it's usually it doesn't even look like an animal. It looks more like a potato than an animal or a chordate. Okay, here you have the incurrent siphon and the excurrent siphon, and the tunic made up of cellulose, the outer, the exoskeleton. Now, the ascidians, or the organisms in the class Ascidiacea, are characterized by a tough outer tunic made up of the polysaccharide cellulose. The larval form consists of a trunk and a muscular tail. The larval form of the tunicate consists of a trunk and a muscular tail. This is the trunk, and then this is the muscular tail. This is the larval tunicate. The larval tunicate. Now it has a mouth or the incurrent siphon. Then it also have the atropore or the excurrent siphon, the notochord, then the notochord, which is restricted to the tail region only. That's why they are called Chordates. Now, the tail of the larva is locomotory and possesses a notochord. The tail of the larva is locomotory. The tail of the larval ascidian is used for movement, and it also possesses a notochord. The larval form does not feed, and as a result, the viscera are reduced. The body cavity is usually reduced in the larval form. The larval form feeds off stored calories. It feeds on calories that are already stored in its system. The larval form's nervous system consists of a dorsal hollow nerve cord, several ganglia, and nerves. Okay, the ganglia are more or less the brain of the larva. It also has a primitive brain composed of few ganglia with associated sensory structures. These structures are ocelus, which is a light-sensitive receptor cell, and the otolith, which is a receptor for stereoreception. Reproduction in the ascidians also occurs by budding. They also occur by budding. How does it occur? Near the base of the sea squirt, a finger-like projection breaks off and settles elsewhere to become the new individual. Okay, a finger-like projection breaks up. It is called a stolon. It breaks up and grows into to form the new individual. The ascidians or Hemichordates in the class Ascidiaceae are largely benthic organisms, usually found at the bottom of the water body. There are 2,300 species of ascidians and 3 main types. And the 3 types of ascidians are solitary ascidians, social ascidians, and compound ascidians. Solitary ascidians are found alone. The social ascidians, they form clumped communities by attaching at their bases, while the compound ascidians consist of many small individuals forming colonies up to several meters in diameter. Having discussed about the ascidians or Hemichordates in the class Hemichordates and the class Ascidiaceae, we want to look at the class Larvaceae or Appendiculariae. Larvaceans or appendicularians are transparent, larva-like solitary, free-swimming organisms that live in open sea. They are transparent, larva-like, just as it is here. They look like larva, and they are solitary, usually found alone. They're free-swimming, and they live in the open sea. The adults resemble the tadpole larva of other tunicates. The adults resemble the tadpole larva of other tunicates. The group includes species with complex life cycles with both solitary and colonial forms. The Larvaceans consist of colonial and solitary forms. Unlike their benthic relatives, the ascidians, the Larvaceans are planktonic. They are planktonic or pelagic. And they are planktonic throughout their lifetime. They are planktonic. They are found on the surface of the water body throughout their lifetime. They are found floating or swimming on the surface of the water body throughout their lifetime. The body is enveloped in a house with which the animal nests food. That's a structure that's known as a house. The U-shaped body consists of a trunk and a tail. Their body is U-shaped and it consists of a trunk and a tail. The body secretes a structure larger than itself within which the animal moves freely. They are found in waters of less than 100 meters depth and below the level of light penetration. They are tiny, being 88 millimeters in length. They have a small body and a long tail supported by the notochord. Now, this is a figure of a picture of an ascidian. See the house or the head and a long muscular tail. They are usually U-shaped. The Larvaceans are usually U-shaped. Just as the name implies, the Larvaceans look like larva right from their their larval stage even to an adult. The appendicularians or the larvaceans reproduce sexually. They carry out sexual reproduction. The immature animals resemble the tadpole larva of the ascidians, although with addition of developing viscera. Their viscera is much larger than that of the ascidians. Now I want to look at the class Thalacea. The class Thalacea. The class Thalacea consists of free-living colonial organisms. The Thalacians are known to be free-living or colonial. They alter between free-living and colonial over succeeding generations. So they exhibit what we call alternation of generation, where the organism alternates between a free-living and a colonial state. Thalacians resemble adult ascidians in appearance. Like adult ascidians, they lack a tail. The Thalacians lack a tail. They lack a tail. They propel themselves by squirting water out of the arthropode. They propel themselves by squirting water out of the arthropode. This is a Thalacian. The scientific name is Pyrosoma atlanticum. Okay, it's basically lacks a tail like the ascidians. Unlike their benthic relatives, the ascidians, the Thalacians are pelagic. They are pelagic. They are usually found on the surface, like the appendicularians, the Thalacians, or the larvaceans. The Thalacians are usually found on the surface of the water body. Now, the Thalacians are of three types. We have the perisomes, the leuloids, and we have the serps. They have specialized modes of reproduction, sometimes with a complicated alternation of sexual and asexual generations. The perisomes form long tubular colonies. The leuloids and serps occur both as solitary individuals and as chains. The Thalacians are filter feeders. Just like the ascidians, they are filter feeders. Thanks for watching. Our next lecture will be on vertebrates. Until then, bye for now.